keep your hands to yourself. When you're in the north of Western Australia, there's so many choices and places to explore. Today, I thought I'd take Marshy to a deserted island in the middle of nowhere to have a fish off the beach like he'd never done before. Leaving Bruce to fish in one of the bays, we came across a sand spit that was thick with silver flashes that just had to be queenfish. Ian, as usual, brought his fly rod and the deadly blue and white clouser fly, while I cast around a small blue and white laser slice. As so often happens in the north, the lure got chased immediately, and I was onto a fish with the first cast. My hooked fish coming in close to shore would be followed by many others, which came close enough for Ian to put a fly in front of. Needless to say, they were only too happy to eat that as well. These queenies travel in schools that can cover acres of water when they're small, and are constantly competing with each other for food. So anything you put in front of them is chased by 10 or 20 fish before the powerful strike.
Now you can see with queenies, they really don't have a lot of teeth. They're not going to hurt you there. What they are going to hurt you with is these caltrop spikes at the top of their back. That really hurts, and I've got about 18 puncture wounds already. Now there's also these two here under the anal fin, and they're just as sharp. They're not really poisonous, but oh boy, they certainly hurt. Over the last 2 days my hands have taken a pounding.
With a couple of queenies under our belt, we decided to try dragging along the bottom to see if anything else was lurking down there that might fight even harder. You don't need to work your lure very fast, and a couple of twitches in the sand was all it took for something to have a big go at mine. This fish certainly felt stronger, and while I fought with a nice pocket-sized giant trevally, Marshy was wondering why he didn't bring a stripping basket.
What's this? Behind me, schools of queenfish are going absolutely crazy. But if you let it sink down a bit further, there's these little kilo GTs, giant trevally, and boy are they fun. I'm going to get him back. Now I got the fly rod out to have a few casts, but unfortunately all the fish went off the boil because they're a little bit far out, a little bit out of fly casting distance. So now I've got the metal lure back on to bring them back in closer for Ian. Hopefully he'll do the same for me later. You're still here? Cool.
Well, you don't get this sort of opportunity very often, so when you do, just go hard and make the most of it. Queenfish are very similar to another great predator, the tailor. They fight the same, feed the same way, and they even taste similar. But you certainly don't get schools of tailor like this in the city very often. That's what made this day something we'll always remember.
Skin breaks into me, God dwells within and I can't wait.
The most common question emailed to us at fishingwa.com is how do I catch a herring? So we thought we'd answer it by showing you just how many different ways you can do it.
Well, Bruce, you get my gear out for me and I'll tell the folks at home exactly how to set up a rig for herring. Now for herring you're going to need a burley cage. I run it up and down the main line and I stop it with this large clip swivel here.
The leader is 2 kilos through to a Gamakatsu shiner hook. It has a wide gape, and the wide gape's ideal for herring because they'll throw that hook, if it's a narrow gape, very easily. This tends to stop them doing that. All right, Bruce, you got my gear together, mate?
Oh, I'm not a pack horse, you know.
We mixed a burley of pollard and water and took our place on the rocks.
All right, we've done our burley, we're baited up. Let's get out there and get some herring. And we show these young fellas how to do it, eh?
Yeah, no worries, Steve.
Okay, hey, you jumped the gun. Now, the tide's coming in, it's just turned. So what I'm doing is casting to my left, and it will drift around to the right. That way I'm not going to tangle over everybody.
Burley is very important here because it brings fish and keeps them in the area.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, side by side.
Mate, what bait are you using?
Oh, I'm just using a little bit of squid.
A little bit of squid. I'm using wogs or maggots. Now, you may wonder why herring love maggots so much. They're pretty disgusting, but the tackle stores breed them for you these days. They actually get the taste for maggots down the southwest where there's heaps of weed rotting on the banks down there. And I'm on another one here. Now, they actually get a taste at a very early age. So by the time they've reached Mandurah here, they absolutely love them. Now, a day like today, it doesn't really matter what bait you're going to use. You're going to catch them on anything. But when they're fussy, maggots are just about the best bait around. Now, in most cases with these shiner hooks, they don't only hook the fish for you, but you'll get them in the scissors of the jaw there. The hook comes out quite easily, just like that, straight out. So now I'm going to release the fish. It's going to be fine. We've not done any damage, we haven't got it through the eye, so if we're going to catch and release like we're doing here, straight back in it goes. Well, the herring are really going off on the bait, but I'm going to make my life easy by changing to a fly. Now, don't be scared to tie a fly onto your spinning gear. I'm keeping my burley cage, and I'm just tying it on the end of my trace that I was fishing with bait. I've made it, though, a heavier trace. I've gone from 2 to 4 kilo, so it doesn't tangle as I skip it through the water. Okay, let's see how we go with this fly now. I've cast a fair way out, and I'm letting the burley cage drift down and letting the burley dissipate. Now I'm going to start a jerky retrieve to imitate a bait fish. Yep, now I'm on. I saw Matt was skipping a fish across the surface there that he had hooked, so I cast the fly right behind that, because there's usually one